Welcome to Shelaborate. I'm Cass.
And I'm Kyra. This is our podcast for the girls, from the girls.
We're telling our stories, hyping up women who inspire us, and shelaborating every step of the way.
It's time to give you the girl talk you've been waiting for. Let's get into it.
We're just here having fun. Just three girls having fun. Welcome back, Shelaborators. We are very, very excited to have this next guest. Not only is she a total badass, she is a artist, a philanthropist, and a mentor, but we're super excited because she's local. She owns a studio where we live, and I'm actually obsessed with the story of how we found you and found your studio.
I was walking downtown. As I was walking, basically mid-step, I look over and I'm like, oh my gosh, there is a beautiful art studio that just popped up downtown. I was like, oh my gosh, I have to know who this artist is because it's beautiful local art. There was so much that I felt like represented our community. And so I looked you up and just kind of cold called you, and here we are.
I thought you were spam, actually.
Wait, for real?
Yeah.
That I did not know.
Yeah. I had no idea. But, you always have to pick up the phone being a business owner. Yeah, but your voice was so friendly. I'm like, clearly this is not spam.
She's very good at her job.
I mean, your name's on the door, Cassy Tully. So I was just reading about you online, and I was like, this woman is incredible. We need to interview her and share her story.
Awesome. Well, I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for having me. I'm honored to be a part of the podcast and just your journey as you grow and share inspiring women's stories. So it was a fun day when you stopped in. I'm looking forward to just sharing my story here today. I'm a golf artist and philanthropist, like you guys mentioned, originally from Wisconsin, born and raised. I built my golf art brand and business primarily around Whistling Straits and Kohler and the Kohler properties. That patronage has been wonderful to me. And then I had moved my storefront downtown Milwaukee. And then I have moved around a little bit after my dad passed really unexpectedly. So that, though, was a blessing. Not that he passed, but that I ended up here. I absolutely love it. And it is the home of American golf. So It's a great place to be a golf artist.
I'm very interested in your story of like specifically how you get to Pinehurst, but I think we should start from the beginning, kind of how you started painting.
Yeah, I was 4 years old. I quietly did this little oil painting down in the lower level of our home. My dad was like paying bills and doing taxes. I still have the same table I painted on. And I loved it. I fell in love with not only like the challenge of bringing an image to life, but also the peace and calm that it gave. I also really loved horses, but it was hard to ride horses in the suburbs of Milwaukee, Wisconsin. So I would just draw and paint horses all the time. So I do encourage parents when they say their child, loves to draw or paint. I say, well, what else do they love? Have them draw or paint that, because that'll fuel their practice and just getting better and better. So yeah, that's how I started painting. Was just 4 years old, little Cass in the basement.
How did you develop your style in painting? Because I think it's very unique. Could you kind of describe it for anyone who's listening?
Yeah, so it's a traditional technique with a modern method. I do believe in keeping the tradition of fine art alive, and yet I have my own vibrant take on that. The technique is based on research I did in Italy. I have a 3-dimensional surface. Basically, people want to reach out and touch it because I sculpt the surface. I use acrylic gel mediums. I use a little bit of sand from the golf course. It's also really fun. I use cake decorating tools to pipe the paint on really thick. And then that was developed in Italy. I went to the University of Wisconsin-Madison. I did a bunch of pre-college, Milwaukee, like Institute of Art and Design, New York, and then outside of Aspen in Snowmass, Colorado. But the technique itself was developed through a grant and a fellowship that I did in Florence, Italy. I was researching relief work, which is carvings on church facades. But then also when I went to buy my art supplies in the Italian art supply store, you still buy the pigment all ground up. And I was like, ooh la la. It's like going into a jewelry store for me. I was like, wow. And then you buy the gel or the substrate or whatever, the oil, the tempera, whatever you're going to use to mix it. And so that was how I went from like ceramic murals and like more just painting. I discovered these gels in Italy that were just so beautiful that you could thicken the paint. And then when I came back to America, I discovered I primarily use Golden brand gel mediums. They have a whole line of these acrylic gel mediums that are just lovely and fun to work with.
At what point were you like, I'm going to make a career out of this? Obviously, it was something that you loved doing as a kid, but how does one kind of transition to like, this is going to be my career, this is how I'm going to make money?
When I was in high school, I told my parents, like, I want to be an artist. And also I told my art teacher, Heidi Herbst, I wanted to take the AP art program, but I didn't take enough of the prerequisites. And so my high school art teacher, Mrs. Herbst, was like, okay, well, if you take these books home over the summer and you make these projects, do all these things, we'll let you in the program. She was the most lovely, amazing, gifted teacher. And later, like I had my 15-year anniversary art show. She purchased one of my pieces. She told me, Cass, you were so talented. I was just pushing you. I just love that she did that. Art school was a little interesting because I then thought it would be hip and cool to say I'm going to be a fashion major. Ooh. So got into the University of Wisconsin-Madison. And then I got to the university and I saw the sewing machines and the scissors. And I was like, I'm afraid of needles. Like, I've made a big mistake.
I want none of this.
Were you more of like mixed media at the time?
So when I was doing the AP program in high school, I focused on the figure draped in fabric. Since we're here to tell stories, I also took a figure drawing at the Milwaukee Institute of Art and Design. I love my mother. I love her so much. That means you're drawing naked people.
Did you know that when you signed up for it?
I knew because I was like watching the show Felicity and whatever. And I was like, I'm going to be an artist now. And so I'm like 15. And she had to sign a waiver for me to take this class at the Art Institute. Yes. Bring home the drawings. And my mom's like, oh, lovely. Yeah. Interesting. And then years later, she said she called my godmother, her sister. She poured a glass of wine and she says, Nan, she's drawn the nudes. She's drawn the nudes. I mean, I look at like, I don't have kids of my own, but like, I look at like my besties, you know, her kids. I've known them since they were babies. She's now 15. She's driving. I can't imagine the day like, oh, she's drawn the nudes. I can't say I've ever shared that one.
Figure drawing. I didn't know what that meant.
No.
So
neither did my mom. I took it so seriously. And even like how cool to be able to like carry a portfolio for the first time, drawing with charcoal and like sitting in like this room with these cool like drawing boards and stuff. So it was a big experience. I also had gotten like a scholarship to go to art camp at the University of Wisconsin Green Bay. That was a figure class, but it was like the clothes figure. And to their credit, my parents have been so supportive throughout my career because even then when I didn't get into and that's how we got here. I was doing a lot of figure drawing, a lot of draped fabric. I loved like my whole thesis was just on these figures draped in fabric. And then that was how I made the jump from, I like drawing the figure draped in fabric to I'm going to be a fashion designer. And it also just like, it was hard as an artist to then, you know, everybody else is like, I'm going to school. I'm going to be a doctor. I'm going to be a teacher. I'm going to do this. To say you're going to be a creative. And it seemed like saying fashion. If I said fashion, I got a lot of positive reinforcement. And so I just kind of went with it until I saw the scissors and the sewing machine. I called my dad then the day that I saw the scissors and I was like, Dad, I've made a huge mistake and I'm so sorry. I said, I'm just going to be an artist now. And I was on like Bascom Hill, you know, the middle of the university, nobody's around. He's like, well, of course you are.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, we knew that all along. Like, go do it.
Because when you're telling that story, you almost sound a little disappointed. Like, I'm just going to be an artist. But what was like going through your head?
Oh, well, then once I got into the art studio, I was like, I found my people. And, you know, similarly, when after my dad passed, I closed my shop, which was really traumatic, but essential to just be there for my mom. And in my mind, like I just needed to do that. But then throughout all the moves and things, when I came here, I was looking to make the move, but I also was like, ugh, I got to find a spot for my stuff because it wasn't really working the way I had thought. Like, oh, I'll go back to just focusing on my art and have it on my home. And then when I came in this space, I was like, oh my God, it's my store. Because this used to be an art studio and a framing shop right next to a wine bar. And then it's 10 minutes from a major destination, golf destination, which is exactly what I had in Wisconsin. And so I was like, okay, this is my home. This is my place. I can sail this ship. I have to admit, like this whole community has been so supportive. And I keep meeting more and more cool people.
You're from Wisconsin. And I think a lot of people, when they think artists, from
Right?
movies, they think like New York, LA, like these major, huge cities on either coast. Your story, I think, just truly highlights if it really is your dream to do something, you just went and did it where you were and you made the things that were around you, like a major golf resort, horses that you love, a focus. And I feel like that is what makes you so unique as an artist.
When I set out to be an artist full time, I was living in small town Plymouth, Wisconsin, where I was like, what am I doing here? Where's the mall? And where do I get my hair cut? Like,
Yeah.
I'm a far cry from my friends in Chicago. But once I discovered Kohler and that destination, I was like, okay, people come from all over the world to go to Kohler, Wisconsin, because they have world-class amenities, courses, and just they draw people here. So, you can be a destination artist. That has been humbling though, because I'm not in Soho. I'm not wherever. But then in the last, it's been 9 weeks, I've done 9 different cities where I've traveled for live paintings and events, fundraisers. And there was a moment when I was in New York. So Nassau Country Club hosted me for the Junior Ryder Cup. They commissioned me to be here to provide a beautiful, memorable experience for their members and the young, amazing athletes. But there's no fundraiser. Like I'm here because they know exactly who I am. They appreciate me and they believe in me and they're happy to have me, And so I was like, I'm in New York and I've made it. So I'm excited to see what's, to come hereafter. But I feel like 17 years into my business, and I won't say how old I am, but that first painting when I was 4 was a long time ago.
Yeah.
But I finally feel like I'm really like right where I'm supposed to be. So it's good.
So a little bit about your business. Obviously, first and foremost, you're an artist, but there's so much that goes into probably having your own studio and running a business that people probably don't understand.
60-40 is usually what I strive for. Is like, when I first started my business, it was a luxury to paint. So I would be doing my paintings like around doing all the business. I mean, you guys know how much it takes, just especially now with social media, like having to create content. Where did we all become our own marketing people? Like it's a lot. If I can typically have a balance of about 60-40 where I'm working on like the marketing, admin, and financials and running the business, 60%. I'm very blessed now. I have Pat McBride as my artist in residence. So thankful. Plein air painter from Pinehurst here, but she paints primarily the village and throughout the various events. But then she's also just like a phenomenal artist that's won numerous awards and been in all different shows and festivals. So having her here in the space really makes me feel like I have my team back, which has been lovely because I used to have an apprentice, custom framer.
Yeah. And it's probably fun having a pal.
Yes, we have so much fun. And she's really talented where we can like art direct or give each other insight. So that's been really helpful. But it's a lot to run a business. It really is, especially to have the storefront as well. But I love it and I wouldn't trade it for the world.
One thing people may want to know is how did you get into painting the golf resorts?
So I was working at a high-end interior design studio in the shops of Woodlake Kohler. Right after art school, I taught at a fine art center. And then for a relationship, relocated to Plymouth, Wisconsin, which is a lovely town that is near and dear to my heart, but right next to Kohler. And so I was working at an interior design studio there and created a Scottish landscape with the little black-faced sheep in it for a design proposal that was being presented. And a gal walked in and she said, "That looks just like Whistling Straits. My husband loves Whistling Straits. He wants his ashes there when he dies. Like, he loves it so much. Will you paint that for him for Christmas?" And so I went out to Whistling Straits and number one, saw the sheep, which are endearing. But number two, a groundskeeper told me to come back at sunrise. At that point in my life, I didn't sleep anyway. So I got up at like god awful 3 or 4 in the morning and went out there and I saw 17 at Whistling Straits right at sunrise when the sun was coming up, and the whole golf course, I mean, it just turned, it gives me goosebumps. It turned like copper and just gold. And I mean, the golf course is a perfectly sculpted landscape anyways, but then to see it light up at sunrise was just magical. And the combination of the sheep and sunrise, I've been a golf painter ever since. And the wives of Kohler shopping, they all wanted these sheep paintings. They kept buying them. And then finally, being a business savvy gal, I realized huge opportunity, but also like, be careful if you're creating something that's the likeness of the golf course. So I presented Kohler with the paintings and then like what I've been selling. And it took 6 months, but I finally got a meeting and then we started a partnership in 2010.
Are there other artists out there partnering with golf courses or like places that people want frames of? Or is that something you just thought of on your own?
I mean, I love souvenirs too. I was really fortunate that the director of retail at the time, his name's Josue Reyes, he's been my mentor over the years. I was really, really blessed that the stars aligned that I had him as my primary point of contact, because he really helped me understand how to merchandise art. I think there's quite a few artists that can and should continue to try hard to work with golf courses if that's their niche, or with resorts or hotels, because there is a real, like, people still really appreciate and want like fine art souvenirs. There's just a lot that goes into it too in order to make it like successful on an ongoing basis.
You told me a little bit about it when I came here, but could you just share a little bit about the sand?
I'm a sentimental gal. I use a little bit of golf course sand in the paint. I mean, part of it is to help people really understand, like, it's bumpy. I collect these little jars of sand. I use proper golf etiquette, and I usually ask, or now I have these kits where you can order them online. If I'm doing a custom painting for a private collector and someone got a hole in one on a certain hole, I can use sand from the bunker from that hole. And so yeah, right behind you is my collection of golf course sand from all over the world, which is just, I'm kind of a golf art nerd in that, like, I can tell you what kind of sand, like what the sand looks like for every different course that I've painted.
They're all very distinctly different. They're all different colors, kind of different textures. And I just think it's so cool that it like also represents all of the different places that you've been and all of the places that you've painted.
I love inviting people into the creative process. And that's why having the studio back is so special, because it's a studio, it's a gallery. But basically, I've always had it set up where you could see me painting in the window. Now you can see Pat and I. It's like dueling pianos. But you get invested in the creative process. You know, you look in and you're like, oh, that's interesting. They're painting. It's kind of magical. They come in and you can see like how I create the 3-dimensional surface. And then, of course, yes, I have prints, ornaments, you know, art available for sale. The other thing that's a little tricky, and I've tried so hard and spent a fortune on photography, is it's very hard to communicate digitally that it's 3-dimensional. I wish 3-dimensional TV screens were everywhere, that like you could look on your phone and see that it's 3-dimensional. So it's so special to be able to come into the gallery and the studio and see that it is 3-dimensional in person.
Do you want to transition and talk a little bit more about your philanthropy and how you got into that?
I have been a philanthropist since the beginning. I've just recently really embraced it and started to use that title more just to really drive it home. When I first had my studio storefront in Plymouth, Wisconsin, that is a very great community that loves to give back. So there are tons and tons and tons of charity events going on all the time. And people would stop in for raffle prizes, for larger silent auction, live auction. I learned very early on in my career, like the importance of giving back, whether it's a gift card or whatever. So I created this whole program of like, just so I was prepared when they would come in, because I didn't want to turn people away, number one. And then number two, I'm dating myself because now almost all advertising is not all advertising, but a lot of it is just through social media. But early on, like newspaper ads were huge, magazine ads were huge, and I did not have the budget for it. Even now, it's tough. And I can create a nice press release and, maybe pair it with an ad or something. But realistically, I decided early on to invest my time, money, and resources that I would otherwise be spending on newspaper ads in giving back through charity. So it was like, okay, maybe I gave a $50 print or $100 this. I was like, well, I can't pay for the newspaper ad, but I can give a print and it'll do good, plus put my art in front of this audience. So that was where it started. I raised a substantial amount of money, though. Acuity Insurance, Sargento, Sartori. I don't know if any of these names, Johnsonville, but like there's some major manufacturing and just really strong companies in that area that when I would do a live auction with an artist reserve, which means I get a small portion of what the painting goes for. My price point elevated in that, initially I was selling a painting for maybe $1,000 to $5,000. Well, in the auction, all of a sudden it went for $7,500. Then there was another one for the NICU, and that raised $16,000, I think in 2012. And it also just really touched my heart because I don't have kids. I didn't have kids. And I got to go and see like the giraffe arm thing that like at the NICU, like $16,000, I think paid for half of one of those. And I was like, wow, okay, like I can't cut a check for 16, but I just helped all these families get this bed thing that's going to help these little babies. Like, how can you not be motivated to make that a part of your career? A lot of it has had to do with me finding my place within the golf industry too, because early on I was doing the destination artwork plus the major championships. So I created artwork for the US Women's Open, PGA Championship, Ryder Cup, a BMW Championship, Western Amateur. I was just kind of like on the track of like the majors. Like I got as far as creating the art for the Ryder Cup, which was amazing. But then I was like, well, I've never dreamed beyond this. And who am I? Like, am I going to continue to try and be the official artist in the merchandise tent that everybody comes to and gets their poster? But I reached out to PGA Reach, which is the philanthropic arm of PGA of America. And thank God they got it. Like, we didn't quite know what we were going to do at first, but Alyssa and Maureen, they have worked tirelessly with me. Like, they totally got me as a person. And last year we raised $70,000, but PGA Hope supports the veteran community. And we've done some awesome work pretty quickly. And it's really kind of solidified like where I am in the industry, because there's so many charity tournaments out there that would benefit from a live painting and a live auction.
When you have the project of doing art for like a major, what would you call it, event or tour, how do you approach doing artwork for that?
The only daunting thing is if there's a tight timeline.
Yeah, okay.
Because you do have to create an original piece, like an original painting. Yeah.
And you do live paintings too, right?
So, yeah. I can work pretty much on any timeline or budget. And then the live paintings, that is what has had me flying everywhere right now. And I love it so, so much.
Can you describe that?
It's similar to how, and I've done one like live painting at a wedding. It was very special. It was at Pinehurst Resort. But I primarily will paint the golf course. So say there's a member guest tournament or a charity tournament, I will fly in, and it's typically just all takes place in about 48 hours. Like I fly in, I do a site visit, and then the next day I'm on course painting, usually between 5 and 7 hours, depending if they have an auction or not. But I can paint the whole golf course, or not golf course, hole. Like I'll paint the signature hole and then present it, either if it's a gift to like the host club, it might have been commissioned, or it's auction. But I absolutely love it. It's amazing how much I can get done in 5 or 6 hours. Laser focus on the golf course frustrates me because then I come back to the studio and I'm like, girl, 5 to 6 hours, get it done. And I'm like, month.
You need the pressure.
It's kind of like a sport and it's like adrenaline, right? It's like your event.
And it's crazy. I do treat it like I think about what the professional golfers are doing the night before their tournament. Like I stretch, I focus, I visualize, I sketch ahead of time. I just did the U.S. Olympic ski and snowboard gold medal gala. That was beyond amazing in New York City. And that I did the 10 disciplines. So like all the different, like the moguls, the freestyle, blah, 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 like all of those, the little skiers around the edge, or the ski and snowboard and the Paralympic too. And then I painted the Dolomite Mountains, and then they auctioned it. And they had about 30 of the Olympians and Paralympians sign it at the gala. So that's another great way to fundraise, is when we can partner with name personality or celebrity. So like Jack Nicklaus, Arnold Palmer, recently Scottie Scheffler and Jim Furyk all have signed my work. So that really helps elevate the price point, because it's beautiful. But once you have a signature of a legend on there, that sure helps too. Previously, all the creativity would take place in the studio. And then I show up like you two, looking all cute and like, I'm here to sign your prints or whatever. And I'm Cassy Tully. But for them to see me in my element, like got paint all over me, I'm wearing my apron, and there's paint all over my tablecloth, and then of course I clean up for the gala. But yeah, it's pretty cool to share that side.
And I just feel like, for lack of a better word, like the consumers, like it's great to appreciate the art, but then it's just so much more fun to be able to appreciate the artist too and get to know you and see you. And
I'll let them do a little brush stroke. Like we put the sand in from the golf course, and then like I also will have like distinguished guests, or even like, often if it's a veterans event, like veterans that have gone through a various program, they'll put a brush stroke on. It's funny how some people, they'll get really shy about it.
I would literally be like, let me pluck one of my eyelashes out, dip that in the paint, and use that to apply it to the painting.
It's a big mess when I'm working on it, and I'll be like, here's green. Almost the whole painting is green. Like just go like in the tree, like it's gonna be fine, trust me.
And then you can like prank them. You're like, oh!
yeah. It's another touch point to get them engaged in the creative process. And sometimes you can't break down those walls, and they get real like, ugh.
That's funny.
But yeah, they usually love it.
And you mentioned that you've done some work with veterans. Can you talk a little bit about the Veterans Golf Association?
Yes, I would love to. So the Veteran Golfers Association just celebrated their 10th anniversary. Their headquarters is here in Pinehurst. And they were really my introduction to philanthropy with a veteran organization. I was introduced, but while I was creating the art at the BMW Championship. So I'm like flying out on an East Coast tour, like literally 2 weeks before the national championship for VGA. And I'm like, when you're doing the art for a major championship, you're in the merchandise tent signing from like 7 a.m. till 7 p.m. You're just like,
holy smokes.
That is so long.
Long day.
And that's you autographing.
Yep.
How does your hand not fall off?
What I do is this little remark where it's one line.
Okay.
That looks like a golf green and a flag, like
cool.
Boom.
Okay.
So that's how you know I've signed it in person. So VGA, I got the call from Josh Payton. He wanted me to do the official artwork for the 20th anniversary of the VGA in 2 weeks. And I'm like, dude, I'm walking into a week of major championship. I don't have any supplies, but in my mind, I was like, put yourself in perspective. Can you create a painting and prints in 2 weeks? Think about what our veterans, it gives me goosies, but like, think about what our veterans have done for our country, especially as it relates to September 11th. They have done far harder things than make a painting and prints in 2 weeks, even if you're going to be at the BMW championship. So I bought paints in Philadelphia, which was so fun. And then I went to the championship all day and then painted in my hotel room, made a painting, sent the image to my printer. He made the print. Scott is amazing. He's been my printer since day one. And yeah, he got the prints done. And then the next thing I knew, on September 11th, I flew into New York for the tournament.
I bet that was so special.
Yeah, it was super humbling. Super humbling. So that started the relationship, not only with VGA, but just veterans in general. And then being at that tournament, I had a pretty shallow perspective of what veterans were. A lot of it was based more on my grandpa, who is turning 99 and a World War II veteran. I thought I was going to a championship with grandpas. And then I got there and they were all my age. And I realized, especially with the death by suicide rate, what it is, that I was like, we're not losing grandpa, we're losing my friends. And so that's why it's an emphatic yes anytime somebody reaches out for a veterans organization, because you're not just advocating and raising funds, you're saving lives. So that's why I do it.
They're hosting golf tournaments for veterans to kind of like get them together, get them out and about, and promote awareness of issues for veterans.
Yeah, so VGA hosts local, regional, and national championships, and it's all grounded in golf as a healing method. So their motto is it's more than just a game, and getting veterans together in terms of the camaraderie and just active, dialed into nature, and then a competitive sport that they can dial into and drive forward. So yeah, it's an amazing organization, and it is here in Pinehurst, which is even better. When I was looking to move here, I was like, well, don't mind if I do, because they're such an amazing partner and support.
I don't think I put it together that you were working with them prior to actually moving here.
Okay, because that was going to be my next question. If that was just kind of happenstance being around here,
that was when
relationship was created prior to.
And so I knew VJ was here. Pinehurst had reached out to work with me. And I had some really great mentors that, shared what an amazing community this is. And then my godparents are in North Carolina. And then our best friends were here too, that just, helped bring us home to Pinehurst, North Carolina.
Yes.
Smartest life decision I've made. When I moved here, like, everybody just was so kind and so supportive. Like, what else do you need? And just, things fell into place.
Our community is very lucky to have you, like someone so talented and willing to give back. You're just the type of person who's going to better our community. Wherever you go, you're going to better that community.
Thank you. And Christmas is right around the corner. I'm so excited. Cassy the elf has decorated. So every year too, I paint these hand-painted Christmas ornaments. So this year I painted the Southern Pines train station-ish.
Oh, I love that.
And then a classic Christmas train, which was an insane amount of details. There were moments where I was like, girl, why? Like previous years, you can see I did like the poinsettia or the snowman, and it was just like carefree and fun. And wow, the details on the Christmas train, but so fun. And the ornaments started because in Wisconsin, like, golf isn't just all year. Here, we've got people coming from all over the world to play pretty much all year round.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, but I needed something to bridge the gap. So every year for the last 14 years, I've painted Christmas ornaments. That's why we're decorated already.
Yeah, and if you're listening and you're not seeing this, basically the whole studio is just filled with these gorgeous Christmas ornaments, and they're like all in these little clear boxes so you can see them. And so is every different bulb a different year, or do you do multiple each year?
Yeah. So you guys are also seeing some like custom orders for the golf courses, and then like different events that go on where they've ordered like 100 of them. But every year I paint a different theme. I call it my collector's edition ornament. They're all hand painted. I line them up like Christmas cookies. And so this year I painted 200 of the trains. And I use the glass bead gel, the iridescent paint, and I try and keep them as affordable as possible too, in honor of the patrons that purchased my artwork early on, where it might have been $100 and now it's $1,000. You know, I still every year want to make sure that if you've supported my art from the beginning, you can still have access to an original piece. So, and then it's amazing that, you know, people keep them year after year. We have a couple casualties every year. I'm doing some redos right now where it's like, Grandma Betty called, she broke her ornament.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So, but yeah, it's such an honor. People keep them year after year, pass them on. And I do personalize the back. Such a sucker for personalizing. Like put names on the back.
You mentioned a couple times throughout this interview and before of just the people that were with you from the beginning, buying your artwork from the beginning. Do you have like a couple people you want to shout out, or a story about people that just were there from the get-go?
For sure, my parents.
Yeah.
And my sisters. My sisters, Jamie Taylor, and then my brother-in-law, Hailey, and then my parents. It's been really, really tough. We're celebrating the 5-year anniversary of my dad passing. My family's actually coming to Pinehurst, and they have been my backbone since day one. We did also recently celebrate my communications manager, Deanne. She retired and was with me through my journey for 16 years as my gatekeeper. She wrote everything about me. I mean, I can't tell you the things she knows about my life. So we did recently go out to a really nice lunch and just celebrate. So I'm just really, really thankful for my collectors. So anyone that's purchased an original painting is called a collector. Also, because I like exclusive and VIP things. If you've purchased one of my original paintings, number one, your painting's archived. So I keep track of the value for insurance purposes, whatever. But then you're also on a separate like email list. Like for my grand openings and things, I'll do a private toast or give special incentives or offers. So that to me has been my way of giving back to the people that have paid real money to put, you know, brush to canvas and support my God-given talent and just ability to keep putting a roof over my head. And I guess that's why I also like to give back, because
you
know, they told me in art school only 5% of artists make it. And I was like, well, what am I paying you for? Come on, you got to have a better ROI. Like, really?
You're like, is that a threat?
No, I was like, well, I'm not going to be that one. So every day you're as an artist or a creative, I mean, even you guys, like, look at you hauling it to like share your passion, you know, like you run around, do all your things. And you're like, no, we really love to do this. So we're going to find a way to make it happen. So, you know, it's not easy, but you do it because you love it.
You do it because you want to.
You do it, yeah.
Nothing like crushing a statistic.
So what's next for you?
Well, I'm actually taking a little staycation and going to Asheville. I had on my bucket list for this year, like what I wanted to do. And one of it was to go paint the waterfalls. I'm a sucker for pretty Christmas. So I'm really, really excited. So have a moment to do that. But I also have lots of orders. I'm working on really hard to get all my Christmas orders done and accomplished before I do go back to New York 2 more times before the end of the year. Yeah, let's just see what next year brings. I'm so excited. You guys are really good at asking cool questions. No, I've had lots and lots and lots of interviews. Nobody's ever gotten the story of the nudes.
Oh my gosh, I feel honored. What would you tell a young artist who is talented? I feel like there's a lot of people out there who are talented in art when they're young, but just kind of don't know where to go from there. And they may want to do it as a career, but it seems far-fetched.
Well, I'm getting older. So like now there's so much opportunity for creatives. Their eyes are so much more exposed thanks to social media. There's so many ways to create art for the sake of it looking cool on Instagram. Like those cherry blossom paintings, like those were the last painting I did where I'm like, this is for the sake of it looking cool on Instagram. Because like you can create a whole market for yourself if you can figure out how to create just like a little painting. But if it looks cool on Instagram, you can grow your followers, you can grow yourself financially. Whereas when I got started back in the day, like to be a painter, like meant you were going to get yourself in galleries and retail spaces. Like now there's so many other opportunities to grow. But I do still right away say, paint what you love, draw what you love, like whatever that is. If it's cats, if it's Pokemon, do that. And then I will offer, if they're local, to come down to the studio. I don't teach art lessons. I did that in my life, and it just is one more facet or two with doing everything else I do. But I do encourage them to bring the kids to the studio to see what it looks like to be an artist, or put a brushstroke on the canvas and just have that touch point. And then I do often, like, as long as their parents are good with it, I think it's cool to say, like, follow me on Instagram or stay connected with me, because I've had my apprenticeship program and then, like, my scholarship when I was in Kohler. I actually gave a financial scholarship just to connect with young creatives and give them like a token.
So we started this, it was Kyra's idea to ask all of our season 2 guests what their hottest hot take is.
So early on in my career, I was always told, like, don't get paint on that. That's nice. Like, don't get paint on that. And it became a metaphor too for, like, you know, like, stay within the box, kind of. And it's like, oh, well, if you get paint on that, it's ruined or whatever. And I'm like, well, yeah, but it's also like kind of cool like that. And now, like, the studio is like very clean and put together, but also you come in and you feel like if you get paint on something, like, it's okay. Like, it just.
Yeah, some things are like meant to be not used and abused, but like they've got more character when they have kind of the flaws, and it kind of shows that you're a real artist because you have maybe paint on the floor.
So what's the best way for people to connect with you?
Yeah, well, you can find all of my platforms on my website, CassyTully.com. And then, of course, send me an invitation or connect on LinkedIn, Instagram, Cassy Tully Art. I think that's the same for YouTube. And then, of course, Facebook as well. So, and you can shop on my online shop as well. And then if you are in town, if you're coming to Pinehurst to play golf or just in the area and you want to stop by the studio, just send me an email or you can call or text and see, you know, when's a good time to stop by.
Yeah, so we'll make sure to link all of your socials in our show notes. We will definitely have some shout outs there as well. And thank you for tuning in. Keep listening for more interviews with truly inspirational women.
Thank you so much for being on the show. If you guys want to show your support for Cassy and her art studio, go ahead and like or comment on this story, and we'll be sure to make sure that she sees that support. If you want to connect with her direct, go to her social media. Thank you so much for joining us and for listening.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to Shelaborate. We can't wait to bring you more episodes.
Don't forget to follow, like, and drop us a review. Our episodes are available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Patreon.
If you liked the show, post it on your social media and pass it along. Women supporting women is the whole point.
We'll be back next week with more opinions, more stories, and more Shelaboration.
Until then, I'm Cass.
And I'm Kyra. This podcast is for the girls.